episode of the Real Raw Exchange Podcast. And can I get my co hosts to introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm Lady D.
Hey y'all, it's Sunny.
Hey, this is Nat.
So, for this week, we have decided to now go over a topic in reference to black businesses. Black businesses. Where do the black dollars go? Okay. I think when it comes down to this topic, it's very nuanced in a way where, you know, I think one of the biggest things that we often don't do in the black community is we don't talk enough about financial literacy. Okay? We don't often talk enough about financial literacy, in addition to the fact that when we don't talk about financial literacy, we also don't tap into the aspect of entrepreneurship, which pushes us to always believe we got to go to someone else to be able to get that coin, as my wife would say, get that coin, in addition to always going to somebody else to be able to get a job, what may have you. But then let's just say we have a few of us that end up breaking out of that mold of just being an employee and now want to have our business, either small or big, right? And have those businesses to be able to work toward being a good investor, when it comes down to investing in things and building wealth. We have to start somewhere. And then with us starting somewhere, we want to have our businesses flourish. But if we have a mindset of, okay, our target consumer, we definitely want to have black people be our target consumers. So, we are rotating black dollars within the black community. Oftentimes, it doesn't always work out the way that we may think it should work. When it comes down to black people, black consumers, being able to give to businesses, to business owners that are black. What y'all think about this topic? Anybody got any ideas? Anyone?
So it makes me want to be like, where the money reside, where the money reside. Because I've been on both sides of being a black business owner, but also being um one who supports black businesses. And I will say, like, you go in an establishment with excitement and you expect a certain level of um service,
Customer service, yes.
and sometimes I think that your expectations aren't met,
Mm.
but sometimes I think that people's expectations are too high, which I don't know if they're too high or they just don't want to spend their black dollars with you. Because
Mm.
the thing is that when you have a business and you give somebody a price, most times when you give people or when someone gives you a price, you either decide if that's in your budget or not in your budget, and you either say yes or no. But when you start to haggle people on their prices, I feel like it's saying to me that you don't respect the fact that I'm a business owner or a black business owner, and you just want the hookup.
Yeah. Like let me talk about the aspect of expectations, okay? Because everyone's expectations are different. Even
Yeah,
with
I just want all my yams when I go to the little to the cookout place with where they sell ribs at. I just want my little thing of yams. They always miss something. Like, she about to die. Where's the boy? Tell him to go get her.
Okay. I mean, of course, it can, you can have one small example of, you go to, the cookout joint, you know what I'm saying, when it comes down to soul food, and then all of a sudden you don't get your little thing of yams that you're supposed to get with, the meal, when it came down to what it said, on the daggone menu and everything, and then all of a sudden you like, where my yams at when you open the, the
They don't even tell you they didn't put them in
they
there.
ain't put them in there. Then you got to go back in and be like, it said on there that I was supposed to get some yams. I just want to know where I got my. Am I gonna get the yams, or y'all out of yams today? You know, y'all out of
Well, we
yams,
ain't got no yams, man.
or it could be, we got some
You
yams
could
in the
say
back, but it's canned yams. And I don't know if you want the canned yams, but like, I just want my yams because I just want to get full price on what I was supposed to get with my meal and everything that came with it, with all the fixings. Can you go get them yams, please?
yeah,
Thank you.
on my ass.
But expectations, you know, can, come from a template that you see majority of the time, that template is only being seen in the light of other businesses that have business owners that don't look like us, you know? And when you see that template majority of the time, or you see those specific business owners, non-black, non-African American, non-African business owners, and you continuously see that, then you do image association. Seeing this image associates with this quality, where that may not always be the case. In addition to the fact that oftentimes when you're consistently being indoctrinated in seeing a certain image that ties to a quality with that image, in your mind, if that image ends up making a mistake, you're more than willing to give that image a pass than the image that looks like you. Where it's like something happens when it comes down to, bad quality of service for, let's say a business owner that you're trying to get a product from because you're a consumer, trying to get a product from, and let's just say they Korean. You know what I'm saying? Because, we could talk about, most of the carryouts, within DC, and we could talk about, Koreans working in there. A lot of people say, oh, they Chinese. No, it's majority of Koreans that work in Chinese carryouts. Okay? And we could talk about them. They're getting our money. They're giving us a product. We are a consumer. But we have been so used to getting a certain product from them, when they do some, so many words, when they do some fuck shit, we probably are more likely to give them a pass on fuck shit that they do because we've seen them in that template for so long. So there is an expectation for us to be like, hey, this is the place that, I come and get, that good mumbo sauce. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna fuck up my mumbo sauce when it comes down to being able to put it on my chicken wings. All right. Every time I come here, the mumbo sauce be on point. It should be always on point. And that one time it's not on point, you'd be like, hey, you try to negotiate a little bit. Hey, I know it's fucked up this time, but I'm gonna need you to get it right next time. You may give them another pass. Be like, why you fucking up the mumbo sauce? You know what I'm saying? It was a little bit too much ketchup in that mumbo sauce this time. Not enough sweetness. Okay.
Ain't nobody trying to learn karate on the clutch to fight these people because you complaining about mumbo sauce.
But the point that I'm trying to make on this is, when we see others in a template for so long, and we're so used to just giving our dollars away to them, right? We will come up with excuses to continue to give our dollars to them, but then when we see people that look like us that's doing the same thing, and let's just say they may put a little bit more coin on the price for us to be able to get the product from them, we will complain off rip, on first interaction and not even want to go back to that business, you know. But we are more than willing to go back to the carryout. But we know those Koreans hate black people. You know what I'm saying? But what y'all think about that? Anybody? Nothing? Ain't got nothing to say? I'm gonna continue, do this.
I mean, I like mumbo sauce. So, shout out to all the Asians.
Oh. I will not edit that out. But anyway, let me get into another aspect of who we're giving our dollars to, like getting back to the aspect of how often do we purchase things online? Do we know exactly the vendors that we are giving our money to? Are we more willing to look for black owned domains, black websites when it comes down to black businesses, and want to search for black businesses and give our dollars to black businesses online versus the convenience of using Amazon? Because let's be real about it, Amazon is one of the most genius things that ever happened. Why? Because Amazon has really closed down most of these department stores that we at one time thought were going to stay open. I'll give you a couple examples. When was the last time somebody heard or seen Circuit City?
Or Kmart.
Or
Kmart. Or a Toys R Us.
Amazon toy stores out of business for sure.
I think the only competition when it comes down to Amazon, let's be real about it, is Walmart. Like if you think about, like, speaking of Walmart, when was the last time anybody saw a Kmart?
And Amazon sells stuff from Walmart, so sometimes if you buy something from Amazon, it'll come in a Walmart packaging. So everybody makes money.
What?
That's
true.
Because Amazon is a distributor. It is the largest distributor. So even though we don't see like those Kmarts and those Toys R Us's, Amazon is not making those toys. Right? So it's not that they're not still collecting money. They're getting paid.
Right.
We're just paying Amazon. Right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it that way.
True. Like, where did all these other businesses go? Like, really, Amazon fucked up the game, but then improved the game. If you think about it, where it's like, it's easier. Let's be real about it. It's easier to just go on Amazon and see particular vendors that are selling certain merchandise, and then by a couple of clicks of a button be able to get your 50-inch television set in 3 days. Especially one that you want of a quality price, versus going to Walmart where they may sell the same stuff on Amazon, but at Walmart you don't have as many choices like you do on Amazon. I think the being real about it, because I buy books. I buy books like Running Water. I think the thing that I purchased on Amazon that was the furthest away from me was me purchasing a book about judo techniques from Japan. And it was quality book. But it was from Japan that I purchased that. I can't just step outside and be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go to Japan real quick and get this book.
It took
No,
it 6 months to get here.
no, it didn't even take 6 months. It took 2 weeks at a quality price. 2 weeks. That's not that long when it comes down to, international shipping. That's really not that long. And most international shipping, when it comes down to, stuff wanting to get to you, let's be real about it. It probably take anywhere from like month to about 2 months or a month and a half ish. You know, where got to think about products, got to think about, the aspect of if you want to have your own business, you know what I'm saying? Be able to have your own business, be able to, actually get an LLC and use it properly, knowing what a EIN number is, knowing what, tax write-offs you have in reference to having an LLC, all these particular things. But here's what is the biggest thing that I think messes up, you know, black businesses being able to flourish in gaining black dollars or any other dollar is the fact that one, and I'll say more specifically in the United States, we don't really in the black home teach financial literacy from first crawl. You know, it's not more so. I would even go as far as saying this: money is not really talked about in a black household. Money is not really.
Oh, yes.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
Or it's talked in a certain way that doesn't get to having a certain literacy of it, so you can sustain your life through your finances in the way that you should as an adult. But then again, what you got? What you got, Nat? What you got on that?
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say I wouldn't say it's not talked about. I'll say that the way that, especially if you're growing up in a single parent household, if you have one parent who's working, that one parent may be living paycheck to paycheck, right? Let's just say that that's happening.
Yeah.
Their sense of financial literacy is how am I going to make it from week one to week
Week
two
two.
to week three?
Right.
And she's talking about it because she's tired of paying for all this stuff. She's tired of going to work. It's not the financial, it's not what you're talking about, but it's talked about in that way, in that circumstance, unless you're fortunate enough to come from a household where they actually do discuss how important your credit is and what really happens when you purchase a home, right? What really happens if you want to start a business, why it's important to keep you know um property in the black family. That's something else that I think that a lot of black families and communities just don't get or just hasn't grasped, and that's just a whole nother thing.
I believe how can you
But
grasp grasp something, of course, out of the scope of you actually going to search for the knowledge yourself, because now you're intrigued and then you also have a sense of ambition in getting to a certain goal. But outside of that, where where do you grasp that ambition of something that you don't even really have a foundation of? Where do you get it from? It can only be with you being exposed to certain things that now piques your interest and pushes you to ask certain questions, leading always back to the question why. Why is this happening? Why do I not know about how to balance, a checkbook? Why do I not know how to budget the funds that, was coming in? Why do I not
Because in the
know?
old days it was taught in school.
You know, that's an interesting point. That's a very interesting point. Yeah, in the old days, definitely it was taught in school, but to what extent, and also in which schools was it taught in?
Oh
You know,
yes. I
if you,
mean, my grandmother talks about it. She was in school in the South,
you know what, the
which I
South,
think they would have been the last to get like some of the best classes. So if they was taught it, then it probably was taught to everybody almost.
Well, I mean, I would definitely say when it came down to education, way back in the day, um, you had more standardization as far as, okay, this is what you teach with math, this is what you teach with history, this is what you teach with, you know, uh, um, biology, chemistry, whatever the subjects were. You know, let me go ahead and have a foundation of what home ec is. You know, let me go ahead and have a foundation of class about finances, whatever that was back then. But then where the game got messed up was in the scope of separation, but then also it reinforced where the game got messed up again when it came down to integration. Because now, obviously, in the United States, because of our nuanced history, now it's like we want to teach you, but we only want to teach you certain things and not teach you everything that was taught based on the first template of a curriculum. You know? Now it's, oh, we'll teach you these things that comes out of older books, and then we'll learn what we need to learn out of the new books. But they don't realize when it came down to teaching what was taught in the older books, you still have to have a educator filter what is being taught, because it must be taught in a specific way for students to get the concepts. You know, it's not always about the book. Often it's about the method in which you teach the information. You know? But getting back to finances and getting back to businesses, black businesses, that black coin, getting back to that, where during the time of Reconstruction here, during the time of Reconstruction, there was a great foundation in black businesses happening. Great foundation in, black people being able to be very self-sufficient, aside from all the fuck shit that happened in, the course of history. There was a great foundation in it. But then when others outside of us realized what we were doing for us, by us, that needed to be destroyed. How do you think that history affects us now? And that is not a rhetorical question. Anyone?
I'm trying to find the right words. But, like, I don't know so much about, like, the history of it. Mm-hmm. I just know that people, you can't expect other people to support our businesses if we give reasons why we don't have to. Okay. Like, a lot of people yelling out support black business, but then they tell you, well, I shouldn't have to pay you this because you don't have the credentials, even though you've been doing it your whole life. Yeah. And it's kind of like, as a nanny, people tell you, well, you don't have your degree. I'm like, but there's a lady that's watching kids that's like putting them in closets. Like, that's what you're paying your money for? But for like $7 an hour, you want me to feed, bathe, change, teach, nurture. You want me to do all of these things and more, but you tell me why you don't have to pay me. And one thing other ethnicities don't do is either they just don't give you your money, like either they don't give you their money or they don't give you their money. Like they're not gonna tell you why they don't have to. They just don't.
I was going to say that too. I have a similar experience because I also have a business, and what I was gonna say is that I have white students and I have black students. I got
Yeah.
African students. And let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I am all for
White people
supporting
pay you
black
early.
businesses, but my my black clients, and I'm not, I'm telling you, like all my, like most, no, not all of them, but for the most part, sometimes or a lot of times, you have, black clients who, like she said, want a discount.
Hmm.
They want to have a conversation before before you even put the prices on the table. I mean, it's always like, can we talk about, what do you want to talk about? Have you gone to the website? Did you look at and see what I offer? Did you even look at the prices before you asked about this conversation?
Hmm.
And then a lot of the times, other ethnicities, like she said, because I don't just teach white and black, right? I have Asians, I have Indians,
Hmm.
um, I have a Belgium student who takes lessons. She's in Belgium. She takes lessons from me.
That's dope.
She was taking lessons here in the States, but
Yeah.
she liked it so much and her voice is growing that she decided that she wanted to continue. She's taking lessons from me in Belgium. Has never once wanted to have a conversation about paying me less. Has never once contacted me about, her prices, and I'm pretty reasonably priced. I mean, honestly, just saying. And I think that sometimes across the board, you'll find that a lot of black businesses are considerably, lower priced than those of white businesses.
Hmm.
So that's all I was going to say to Lady D's point
Yeah.
was that.
So I'm gonna just say this, and I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna ask a question. How often do we
And they pay
see?
on time. I'm sorry, I just want to go ahead and say that. And they pay on time. And they pay on time.
Early,
Early,
early.
yes. I
They'd
have
be
more of
like,
a
I'm
few
gonna
that
pay
pay
you for two
early.
weeks, even though you asked for one. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Susan.
Thank you,
Thank.
Sarah.
How
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sam. Thank you.
how
we about to get
often
canceled.
how often does the dynamic of someone who is black wanting to give their coin to a non-black business owner that is giving a product that is priced over the product that they would get from a black business owner just because they don't trust a black business? How often do you think that happens? Anyone?
I think it happens pretty often, but I have a few things I would like to say about
Okay,
that.
okay, go shoot.
There has been times that I have walked into a black business. No, I'm about quality. I'm gonna just go ahead and put that out there. I
Like
really
like
don't
most of us. Yeah,
care if you. I mean, I really am. I
yeah,
don't care if you black. I don't care if you white. I don't care.
yeah.
I care about quality. I really do. I'll pay for quality. If I think that something is gonna last longer, if it's going to be more durable, more sturdy, more
Mm-hmm.
reliable, I will pay a higher price for that particular item
Yeah.
because I think that it will benefit me better in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So to to that point, I'll say if if I find that this item is being sold by a white company or whatever, I'm not gonna just give my money to the company because it's a white owned business, right? But this is just me.
Yeah.
I go and I test the product, or I read reviews. That's another thing. I have been in stores where sometimes the customer service in some black businesses are just off the rate. I love my people. I'm telling you, it makes you not want to support, but I just be like, you didn't even greet me at the door. You never said hello. But you know what they're doing at Chick-fil-A? Okay. Chick-fil-A, they're outside. They got people at all the cars. Okay. I mean, seriously, they're taking your order in line. Chick-fil-A have master customer service. I don't care what nobody says. I mean, really have master customer service.
Okay. Like
customer service is important. It is important. It will if it's poor customer service, I won't buy anything. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels that way. But that's not just for black businesses. That's for any business. Honestly, like if it's poor customer service, it's kind of like that saying, "You had me at hello." If you don't, right? So it's kind of like that. And I was like, I'm not. Never mind. I've changed my mind. Changed my mind.
So, and let me ask this question now. So, of course, we agree that oftentimes, more so black people within the U.S., are more willing to, put more money out toward, non-black business owners versus, putting less money toward black business owners. Okay? Of course. But here's another thing that I just thought about. Do you believe the reason why that happens, it's more so because we have been so used to giving our money away to people that don't look like us? And if that's the case, do you believe that anytime within our history there could be a foundation of most black people within the U.S. putting up coin toward black businesses? Do you think it could ever happen? And if so, how do you think it could? And if not, why do you think it won't ever happen?
We need some more stimulus checks to put towards black business.
I know that.
I mean, you gotta have some money to put it there.
Oh my God.
Okay, I mean, everybody.
We're asking about the future, or asking about the past? Were you asking that in reference to like the future or the past?
In reference to the future, because the past is the past now. The past, can't be changed. The behaviors that we end up gaining based on the past can be changed for the future, but it's dependent upon us being aware of the behaviors that we do exude.
Right.
But
I think there definitely needs to be a certain level of unity when it comes to pushing forward as a community trying to support each other, because I feel like there's so many different opinions and stances when it comes to supporting each other. That's like, you ask one person and it's like, yeah, I definitely do want to support my own people, but it's like the next person is like, no, I'm gonna go to these white businesses or whatever because I can get better quality service or whatever from them. So I definitely think we have a lot of work to do in terms of not necessarily catching up to the other folks, but just investing in ourselves and remembering or acknowledging that it's not that we aren't capable of providing the same level of customer service and experience as these other, communities, but it's like we're already historically at a disadvantage, on a big scale.
Mm-hmm.
So all these businesses, all these Black businesses are basically, we're starting from zero, ground zero. We don't have the educational background. We don't have the generational wealth. We don't have the exposure to the knowledge of how to navigate these, you know, worlds of entrepreneurship and things like that. Like a lot of these other communities do have that. They do have those things to start with, and we don't, especially not in this country. So, with those things in mind, it's like as we're trying to build up and quote unquote catch up, we're facing criticism within our own communities, and we're also fighting against the system that still exists.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to acknowledge that as well. Like looking forward, we can't deny the fact that the system was not set up for us to succeed. So that system is still in place today, and it's going to be there tomorrow. So until like, you know, something changes, I don't know that we can expect that much of a, you know, difference as we see things are today now. You know.
Can we have a thought in mind of believing that us not wanting to increase, I wouldn't even say this. It's not necessarily about the increasing of buying power, because technically our buying power is what? I think it was, I don't know if it was 2 billion or 2 trillion within US.
I think it's trillion.
It's trillion. We have 2 trillion buying power, but we are giving out our coin, you know, was it every 6 hours? Like, you know, the dollar, you know, cycles, you know, within, you know, the
Yeah.
community, you know, 6 hours, whereas, you know, it will cycle in other communities a
Right.
lot longer, you know, maybe over 2 weeks or, you know, months on end, whatever. But if we have that buying power, what will it take for um, Black people to be able to understand that buying power in relation to needing to let those coins cycle in our community more so, you know? And the reason why I'm, you know, asking this is because it's like we have all this buying power, but it seems like we're not putting the buying power toward what we need to put it toward, you know? And I always go back to preferences, interests, and values. You know, all three of those are different. You know, oftentimes, you know, preferences and interests, you know, may tie to a value, you know, but foundationally values are not really preferences and interests. It's something that you end up learning, you know, at a younger age, and then you develop over time. And through that development, you have a foundation now that is set that you go back to consistently. To give an example, you know, a value is learning financial literacy. A value is learning how to have a family, you know, whereas someone who may understand wanting to have money will have a preference toward just using their money to purchase things, or may have an interest that they'll put money toward that has nothing to do with a value that they have set in mind. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So we're talking about priorities then.
it's another way of saying it, but I agree. You know, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I would even say that you have some, some businesses that don't understand business.
You know.
They know that they want to start a business, so they get started. They may get the funding to start, but what happens when you start is that you start to find out all this stuff, and then you just don't know. So while you're in the midst of starting, you're trying to learn things that you probably should have learned before you started. So you don't know what capital is, you don't know what escrow is, you don't it's just a lot of
You
I mean
don't
honestly.
you don't know what liquid is. You don't
No.
understand,
But most people
No.
that start in businesses are trying to like pay their bills. Like
And that's another
people
problem.
who
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
businesses, most our people who start businesses don't have all of the like cushion in the beginning to be able to start the business, but they starting it out of necessity.
Hmm.
And what I was gonna say is that most people don't want to spend it. They're willing to spend more money on certain things because of what it looks like. I mean, in the sense of like when you look at certain things, you be like, "Oh my God, they spent a lot of money on that." And some people want people to say that, so they're willing to spend more money when you could have got something that was just as good but cheaper, but the name of what you were buying wasn't attached to it. So, there's that.
So I want to bring up a point.
And that's brand. That's,
I want to bring up a point though.
I mean, they got me working
Someone,
hard on
someone,
Instagram.
everybody doesn't see coin the same way. And what I mean by that is someone's perception of $10,000 may be totally different than the person that normally sees 10,000s or tens of thousands of dollars. Where, what is the true value of a dollar? It's really dependent upon how financially literate the individual is.
Yeah.
Because someone can see a dollar as four quarters, someone can see a dollar as 100 pennies, you know? But then we got to also talk about what is the value of a quarter compared to a value of a penny, you know? Where you may have a person that's like, oh, let me go ahead and go to the corner store and
Yes, because that's 10 bubble gums.
get those 10-cent bubble gums. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm. She knows. She knows.
get the red lollipops. With the gum in them. You know what I'm saying? And you purchasing
You
those for
don't get
10 cents,
order.
10 cents a piece. Where you may only want to get three. That's 30 cents. You got another 70 cents to be able to spend later on for something else. Whereas somebody may be like, oh, for this dollar, I got four quarters. I can probably only get a bag of chips with this dollar, or maybe two bags of chips when it comes down to getting the two for a dollar. You know what I'm saying?
According to this wino yesterday, he needed $1.85. So inflation is real, apparently.
That sounds like a bus trip. That sounds
He
like a
followed me. No, he wanted a Snickers.
right.
I said Snickers cost 185, brother. I can't help you, brother. I can't help you.
What's crazy
I mean,
is,
you homeless and candy is what you want. I digress.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I'm be real about it. Like everybody need their fix, no matter what financial disposition they are in. You know,
Hey, I'm here for
because for the homeless person, a Snickers could be the same as or synonymous with for a rich person being on a yacht, being able to have some lobster and steak, a surf and turf, type meal, in addition to having all the delectables that ain't got nothing to do with food. You
I,
don't know. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Then at the same time, getting back to the way the dollar is seen, or getting back to the aspect of, not everybody sees a certain amount of money in the same way, you know, all of this really more so benefits the system that perpetuates lack of financial literacy.
And some people, I would even say that some people don't recognize not not just the value of a dollar, but how it depreciates over time. Also,
Mm.
if you think about it in its present state, a dollar may sound like a lot of money, but honestly, like I was giving my niece some money the other day. No, I'm sorry. I asked her what she wanted for Christmas because we celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
And instead of a gift, she said, I want money. And I said, well, how much money do you want? And she's 10 and she was like, maybe about $100, like $100. And she's 10, but she knows what she wants. And she knows the value of $100 right now. So she understands what she can do with $100. She understands that if she has $100, she can save 50. And this is what she told me. She said, if you give me 100, I can put away 50.
And
And I can take the
that's
other
great.
50 and do it. Oh no, but I got something better. And
Okay.
she said, even on that, I'm gonna ask a mommy for some money. So she got a whole plan. But what I'm trying to like bring
She's
home is
milking.
that
She on the milking side of the game. You know,
is,
she
but she understands. Look, 100 is not enough. It's okay right now, but if I put half away,
then I can
right?
be able to do better with
Yeah,
it later on down the line with what I've saved up. And
yeah.
that's great.
So if you think about that, like that, but money depreciates just like everything depreciates over time. I've had this sweater for I don't know 4 years. It doesn't look the same way, so it's not worth the same price,
Of course.
right?
But how often in the home is it reinforced to understand the value of a dollar? Do we
In the black
even,
home,
well, yeah,
or
the black, black
yeah,
home, I would say, more so.
because how? Yeah, I was gonna say because
How often is that, understand the value of a dollar? In addition to that, how often do we encourage a sense of entrepreneurship within the younger generation so they don't have to be bothered by working for someone that may hate them?
I'm just gonna say this, and I don't agree with it. I don't condone it, but to the point of entrepreneurship, I'm just gonna say, I'm just,
I mean,
you know, I would say that it's not that it's not encouraged a lot, but you have some parents in the black household that just don't know enough about it. So
facts.
while they may, tell their kids or you should probably start a business or you should probably do this or you should probably do that. Telling them something and teaching them how to do something and how to get started are two different
Two
things.
totally
That's
different.
not
It go it
not
goes
the same thing.
it goes
It's
back
not the
it
same
goes
thing.
back it goes
You
back
know,
to the aspect of, and being real about it. It goes back to the aspect of you have everybody telling you, oh, you need to go ahead, go to college, get your degree, whoop de woo. But nobody who's telling you that got their degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna tell me to get something you ain't even get? You know, where it's like you you have to be an example. People learn more from examples than they learn from words. You know, you could talk all you want to or request all you want to, but at the end of the day, how are you showing me how to do it? Probably not at all. Now, I got to be the one in the family to be like, okay, I got to make miracles happen because everybody's just on some, oh, woe is me type shit. Like, so I got to be the one. But how often does that happen? Always having to be the one. How often does that happen in multiple generations? Oh, you got to be the one to do it. You got to be the one to go out there and make it for all of us. Damn. Me though? Just me? Y'all can't
for everybody.
y'all can't come with me? Help me out with this shit? You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta just me alone. I gotta step out, fuck up my ankles, get skin rash, probably dodge a few bullets, might die, just for me to help all of y'all, I might get dead out there. I might lose my life. But I'm doing something good because I'm doing it for the family, and that's what it should be. Because I gotta be the one. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Like, that's how most of us end up feeling when we are, given the title of the one who will make it. Like, what the fuck is it? It's oftentimes it's crazy shit. Because the ones that want us to make it are the ones that didn't make it. But they don't know how to make it because they didn't do it. They didn't do it. But now we got to do it. You know what I'm saying? What's so crazy is and I'm tied to the degree stuff, because and I'm always say until the day I die, degrees doesn't really show your level of education. Is what you actually know and what you actually learn over a course of time. And you don't have to have a degree to know some shit. You just have to have the will to learn and absorb knowledge and apply that knowledge. But when I ended up getting these pieces of paper, it was like family members legitimately thought that I made it. But then when I thought about it, because now with you being, so many words, being on a certain level now, in your mind, this ain't really making it, because I would like to be at a certain financial bracket with having these pieces of paper. I don't believe I'm at a financial bracket where I need to be, but my family has the thought of, oh, he made it. Did I really? Am I really there though? Or
But your black dollars went there. I'm just saying, right?
yeah.
But the people that saying you made
Yeah.
it aren't looking on, they on the outside looking in, and they
Right.
not on the inside understanding what you had to do to make it and the things that you had to sacrifice to make it. When I first moved in my first apartment, I ate hot dogs every day. Because for one, that's what I knew how to cook, and for two, that was my budget. Can we say sacrifice?
Yeah. Franks and beans. I understand them days. Especially
I
But to the people on the outside, they like, girl, you got a car, you got your own place, you
everybody
doing
don't
so
know
good.
everybody don't know the sacrifices that you make. Everybody don't know what you end up going through, because it's either, and I'll put it like this, it's either they may know a little bit of what you have to go through when it comes down to sacrifice, and they're not willing to be transparent enough to actually speak on what they went through. You know what I'm saying? Or it could be legitimately they'd even know the path to be able to take to be vulnerable enough to learn how to get to the final destination. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's go back to the black business aspect. That black business owner or that black entrepreneur that is now having to take all the licks, all the switches in the world, whooping their ass, metaphorically speaking, to be able to flourish when it comes down to this business that majority of your people don't believe in. That's a load to hold. And then you day in, day out on the grind trying to make this thing work. But somewhere in your system, A little part of yourself is chipped away every time you see that black person say, I'm good, I'm about to go to Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard out here. And I think it's more difficult. I'm not going to say, I'll put it in this perspective. We have certain nuanced things that we have to think about in reference to us being mentally competent to go through certain levels of adversity in a society that really wasn't built for us in the first fucking place. You know, we are some innovative people. We are some really innovative people. We could take a whole pig and make every part of the pig a delicacy. But didn't nobody tell us we shouldn't be eating that goddamn swine? Ain't nobody said nothing about the worm that's in the swine that fucks up the body and everything, and you'll be fucked up by the age of 45. You know, fuck, I'm 10 years away from that. I gave up the pig like when I was a kid. Pig, kid. It's like near rhyme. Anyway, I gave up the pig when I was a kid. I said, fuck that pig. You know what I'm saying? Then I had certain family members looking at me like, come on. You ain't gonna eat that big, you ain't gonna eat that bacon. You know what I'm saying? I know they say in New York with a bacon, egg, and cheese. You ain't going with a bacon, egg, and cheese.
Will smoke a pig in the ground in the yard that'll change your life. Delicious. Okay, it'll change you over. It'll switch you over. I promise.
You know what changed my eating habits? You want to know what changed my eating habits? And this is not to be, go on a sad note, but what changed my eating habits was the passing of my goddad. That's what changed my eating habits. I don't mess with pork, nor do I mess with beef anymore. You know? Fish, chicken sparingly. But majority of the time, I'll have some fish. But I try to do a 70-30 ratio when it comes down to vegetables to whatever meat, or whatever flesh. I know a lot of people don't like to hear the word flesh, but that's really what the fuck it is. Whatever flesh, you know. But there's just certain things that, because we've been in a system that pushes us to now give our coin to ones that really don't have our better interests at heart, that more so their ancestors set up a path for them that was fairly easier because of their ancestors' need to be dominant over certain people. You know, in addition to, once the foundation of the new world was created, you had immigrants coming over here, shitting on the ones that helped build this society, because that's what it is. That's the normal occurrence. You know? Shit on the ones that look darker, because that's the American way. So there are a lot of things to think about. A lot of things to think about, but a lot of things to now set your mind up to be able to better understand what we go through when it comes down to our buying value, purchasing value, that some of them may not be the best choices, in addition to what our brothers and sisters, I'll say by genetics, go through in reference to trying to reinforce a change that many of us don't want to see from us, and many others outside of us don't want to see at all. You know? Well, it looks like we up on time, but anybody else got anything they want to share when it comes down to this topic? Yes, no, maybe so. Nothing. I see that look on your face. I think something brewing in your mind, Lady D. You got something to say? You got something to say? Huh? Huh?
No, no, she doesn't.
Oh, okay. Goddamn, why'd you talk in third person? Oh, she doesn't. Like, what? Okay. Like, all right. All right. So, with that said, is
I was gonna say something. I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
knew it. I knew.
I'm sorry. I did. It's like itching me, and I don't want to say it, but then it's like, you know what?
I
I'm just
knew
gonna say
it.
it.
I knew it.
Since we're talking about where the black dollars go,
Yeah.
and this is a bad example. This is probably the worst example ever, but I also believe it's one of the truest. One is one of the truest and one of the most factual.
Spit it out.
And to the I think, and other people can probably attest to this, is that a lot of where black dollars do go where they should not go, okay, is to the drug industry. I'm not lying. Am I
No, you're not.
lying?
I
I'm
know
not
you ain't.
lying.
You know you ain't. You ain't told not near lie. Nah.
Okay, you got some of the best entrepreneurs out there doing their thing, and who's getting their money? We are.
She plays the
I'm
fifth.
sorry. Who's.
There are a lot of um,
So
other certain industries tied to.
unfortunately, that's not unfortunate, but that's unfortunately that. But that is probably one of the biggest black
That's where we get most of our entrepreneurs from
unfortunately,
the drug game.
you know.
That's where we
Who's? Mm-mm. She
like.
pleads the fifth.
Look, you know what?
One,
I'm gonna
two,
say something
three,
about that.
four,
I'm gonna
fifth.
say, I'm gonna say something about that. So let's really keep it all the way hunted on
I'm
this
just
one.
saying.
Let's keep it all the way hunted. You have certain industries that essentially work together. To give an example, music. Let's be real about it. I don't give a fuck what nobody say about it. We dominate. We dominate when it comes down to the music side of the game. We dominate. Okay? But then one thing you got to think about is how often they promote drugs within certain music that these kids are now delving into, and those kids one day are gonna be grown adults, and then they're gonna still delve into that bullshit. You know? Then you also have to think about the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. You got to think about them too. Because shit has really changed over the course of years. At one time, back in the 90s, you know what I'm saying, they were talking about crack cocaine. I'll say 80s, 90s, early 90s, crack cocaine, you know what I'm saying? The 70s was the heroin epidemic, right?
Right.
70s
Yeah.
heroin, 80s, early 90s crack, still crack, late 90s, but then early 2000s, you know, they were, talking about lean, you know what I'm saying, talking about lean, and then all of a sudden some shit switched where everything now became about pills.
Yeah, that's new. That I have discovered, I guess, because
You see what I'm saying? Like they
and fitness.
legitimately they got rappers naming themselves after prescribed drugs.
Yeah.
Lil Xan. The fuck? What the fuck is a Lil Xan? Like,
Xantax?
but I'm just saying, it's like, come on with the bullshit. You don't think that these drug companies, when it comes down to these major corporations, ain't benefiting from these little rappers, all the lils, all of them promoting, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Like,
it's true. It's true. I was sitting outside one day and I was sitting down waiting for a bus, and it was this little girl had walked past me, but behind her, and I didn't realize that this dog was with her, but she had like this big old Doberman, but he was not with her. Now she was like feet above. She was not looking back at him. He like a loose dog. I was like, oh my God, this is about to be my day. Oh my God, he's gonna bite the shit out of me. But she looked back at him and she said, "Come on, cocaine." I was like, like that's his name?
What?
True story. True story. And what did cocaine do? Cocaine listened to her and he went about his way. I was like, he didn't bite me. But when she said cocaine, I was like, whose house is she living in? I mean, who? And it would be sadly, she was black. Right? So I'm just like, oh, come on. Won't you call him Coco? Call him Coco. Because I can't do the cocaine. The cocaine's got to go.
But then it goes back.
Why do you use it so loosely? I don't understand.
It goes back to the song, I'm in love with the Coco. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to, it's just, everybody tries to, like, look, let me tell you something. Look, words are powerful, especially when you could put music, accompanied music behind it, and make it into a song, or make it into a trance, make it into
or people you see now, people creating dances out of it, whole movements and stuff. So
it's like,
it's like, more than just words.
It's very, very influential. I mean, it's one of the most powerful, influential, things that you could ever.
What's crazy to me is like, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I don't care. So let's think about rappers, where certain rappers were like, prominent rappers back in the '90s, because I'm a very big hip hop buff. I love hip hop. That's my shit. The things that most rappers do when it comes down to metaphor, similes, different literary devices, so on and so forth, is great. I've learned most techniques from rappers than I have from written poets, or poets who only write. Okay. Now, let's think about rappers, right? Let's bring up one example. Jay-Z. Thinking about where he came from to where he is now. Right? Notably now, the first rapper who became a billionaire. Okay? Notably. But then, let's go into history. With him, Biggs, Dame Dash essentially coming together to be able to really solidify Rockefeller Records. But prior to that, he was a drug dealer. He sold tapes out of the back of his car.
The drug industry.
You know what I'm saying? Because let's be real about it. If we really want to keep it a buck, drug dealers understand business 101.
Bingo, and that's what I was saying. They do. They understand supply and demand. They understand, they really get it. They understand profit and loss. They understand all the essentials that you need to grow the business. maintain the business, sustain the business, and they have an EAP, an emergency action plan, when shit goes bad. I mean, honestly, again, unfortunately, that's the business. But and and how I feel about it on about some of it, as far as drugs are illegal. Yeah, we know that. I don't I don't think that the government genuinely cares about people dying from drugs. I don't. I care,
I
but
don't
I don't
think
think the
any
government.
government.
I
I would
think that
say
it's more of a
that they don't
competitive
really care
platform where
about
we
us.
can't let them make more money than
Facts, Wendy.
they're competitive. The drug industry is one of the most competitive markets, that you're gonna, find. Honestly,
I think you know what, and I'm gonna just.
unfortunately, it
And
is.
it is unfortunate, but what's crazy to me is when you have one of us that has made it, whatever the fuck that means. When you have one of us who has made it, right? And once one of us makes it, automatically, depending on what it is, because now, paradox of choice is, way out the fucking off the chain now than ever before, in this smarter society. But when you have one of us finally make it, all of a sudden, when one of us has a certain level of money or in a certain financial bracket, automatically that person is absolved of the bullshit they had to do to get where they are now. You know? Fuck the fact that Jay Z was a drug dealer at one time. Now he's the first rapper who's a billionaire. Huh? What lives were lost for him to get where he is now?
I mean, he said you can't knock his hustle, so don't question it.
Here's my thing, and I'm gonna put it in this
Or,
perspective. I'm gonna put it
or
in
his
this.
wife Beehive come and get us canceled.
Fuck all of that. I'm gonna just say this, okay? I'm gonna just say this. Here's my take. Because of the fact that we have grown up in a capitalistic society, oftentimes, if someone has money, like really got that coin, oftentimes we absolve them of the bullshit that they had to do to get to that level of coin. And we don't force them to atone for the fucked up shit they did in the past. You may have a few, you may have a few that will acknowledge the bullshit that they did, but acknowledging it doesn't mean you're being apologetic for it.
All that matters is that they made it out of the hood. That's all.
And that's another thing that we're taught. You make it out of the hood. You made it away from the crabs in the barrel because we are in a mindset of really believing that all of us are crabs, and if you stay in the crab barrel, we just gonna pull you down because that's what we think about and that's what we know only how to do.
And the downside about that, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry. And the downside about that is that I don't think that a lot of black communities, and I don't think that a lot of black communities in particular will ever realize that they have the power to change where they live, or how they're like raising their children,
Change their
how they're
outcomes.
establishing their household. I really think that there is a mental disconnect somewhere. It's just like they just don't realize, yes, you are in a fucked up situation. Yes, the government, or the system doesn't want you to succeed, but do you realize that you still can? you just have to, figure out how to do that. So what I think about that is kind of like, that's probably why they think like that, why they tell their kids or whoever, grow up and be somebody and get out the hood and do good for yourself, blah 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 blah. But depending on where you're growing up and where you live, they may, I don't know.
It it can
But you get what I'm saying? It's
it
so.
can it can be very depressing. It can be very depressing.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this specifically. Hear me out on this one. It can be very depressing when you are told that you now need to succeed to a level by someone who has failed at succeeding that at that level or getting to that level. They failed to get to that level. That can be very depressing because you still want to be able to maintain the respect that you have for the person that is pushing you to try to get to a certain level, but then also in turn, it's a dynamic where how can you truly respect someone who didn't do it? But then also in turn, what are you willing to do to get to that level? Are you willing to do what Jay-Z did? Are you willing to do what Beyonce did? Are you willing to do what a good amount of these celebrities have done? Are you willing to go through the mental anguish to build an empire? In addition, how do we really see an empire? What is an empire to us? If that empire is not being used to sustain its people, is it really an empire? Or is it just a high allocation of resources concentrated to one individual? We talk about being your brand. You are your brand. But then also in turn, to what extent does that go? You know? What are you willing to sacrifice? What price are you willing to pay to be able to now be the brand that others are trying to influence you to be based on how they only see your value? Do you have the courage to be able to convey what your value is to ones that innately just really want to hate you? Are you willing to now build a foundation that doesn't push you or influence you into selling out or destroying your own people? Or is the template along the way everybody end up getting hurt to some degree?
I don't think that a lot of times that people who are doing things like that are thinking about the long term effect that it's going to have,
They're not. I agree.
right? So
They're
they're
not.
like thinking about what's now, like how can I benefit from this now? What is it going to look like now? And
Survival's
then 2 years
mentality.
later, yeah,
You know, what can I do now to survive what I'm in at the moment? But then you have multiple moments, and then when the dust settles, did you really look at the nuances of those moments? Were you present consciously during those moments? If you were present consciously, do you believe you would have made the decision that you did make to be able to have the business that you have now? Or, let's be real about it, is money God?
To some people, it is the higher being. It is.
It's
It
the end
is.
all be
To
all.
some people.
It's the alpha and omega.
Yeah, it is. It's the answer to their prayers. It is for some people. So,
Did
and
you?
I think that some people unconsciously, I mean, some people just unconsciously will. Uh, they may say, "Well, money isn't everything," or "Money." Sorry, there's like a loud something going by. They may say or feel like it's not everything,
Mhm.
but I take that as them just unconsciously being unaware of like, no, it is everything because your actions are saying that it is everything to you. It's saying that. And I don't think that they realize that sometimes.
Here's a saying that I kind of created in my mind. You show me the vice that is destroying your life. You show me the vice that has made your life. You show me the virtue that has created your life. Or you show me the virtue that has pushed other people to hate you. You will show me your God. Maybe some of y'all had to think about that for like a second. Like, what the fuck did you just say? Anyway, all right.
No, I got it. I got it.
You know,
Yeah, I got it. I just didn't say anything.
and at the end of the day, the reason why I say that is most of how we live our lives is real talk, us just trying to fulfill our purpose if we have one.
But some people don't know what their purpose is. And that brings me to a point real quick about how you were talking about earlier about families pressing, like for example, college. I am a personal, yes, I went to college. Yes, I have a degree, blah, 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 blah. But I don't believe that college is for everybody.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
believe.
It's not. I agree with you also on that one too. Yeah, absolutely.
I really don't believe it. And I don't think that some of our parents understand that, some of their parents understand that. And I get why our parents would probably preach that because they may not have had the opportunity to go to college. I totally get
Yeah.
that. But in this day and age, it's kind of like, but I just don't believe college is for everybody. It's right. It's just not. You have some people out here that are succeeding. No, they never went to college, and then you have that college graduate who is struggling trying to find their way through life, upset that they didn't spend all this money getting this degree, and they're not even making the salary that they had hoped to make,
Hmm.
or whatever they feel they should, deserve to make, and they're paying back school loans. You know how much school loans? Jesus Christ.
I know. At one time, that's
It
one of the
ain't.
reasons
It's
why.
no joke.
I mean, real talk. That was one of the reasons why I didn't finish school, because the monopoly of higher education is be able to get the 17, 18, 19 year old who has no sense of financial literacy, get them to be indebted to college professors paying their fucking salaries over a course of years.
They really had us signing promissory notes at 17.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like this is one of the things. Like, even with talking to my niece, this is one of the things when it comes down to my niece that I'm like, college isn't for everyone. But also, in turn, if you've made a decision to want to go, you need to prepare to go. But if you don't prepare, you shouldn't be going.
And you should prepare, I mean, in different ways, like financially,
Yeah,
mentally.
mentally.
I mean, mentally know that maybe you won't finish in 4 years. Maybe
It
you will.
it sometimes
Maybe
sometimes
you'll
it
finish
happens
before
that
you.
way.
But you have to
Sometimes it
be like
does.
really mentally prepared. Like, are you really like? Because if you're not, then it's just going to be, more challenging.
You know, but I ain't got nothing else. Y'all got something else? Any of y'all?
But black people, a lot of black people are indebted to education, to higher institutions. Why? Because you got mommy and daddy, especially single mom, who's out there telling their kids go to college, go to college, go to college, and they ain't got no money. They ain't saved up no money. They have not. So now you want your child to go to college, but you haven't put anything towards helping them, helping them get there financially, which is a big part of it. That's a huge part of it. And they want to go because you have instilled in them through their whole life that they have to go to college.
But
They got to go.
but then
They go and now
for
they
the
have these
one
loans and
but then for the one who doesn't go to college that's trying to, do something on their own when it comes down to being able to have their own business, you know, they also are going to struggle when it comes down to the learning curve of learning things that have never been taught to them.
right. But now you have like these different types of things. So you have trade schools, you
Oh,
have online.
I preach on trade schools also. Like,
Yeah, I mean you do. I mean,
yeah,
I know somebody right now who's an IT, who's a senior IT in
engineer.
engineer. He makes great money.
Yeah, yeah. That I
He
mean,
never went to college. He ain't going to college.
I'm gonna be real about it.
He didn't go to,
Degrees. I'm
I'm like,
gonna
what?
keep it a buck. I'm gonna
You
keep it a buck. Degrees aren't the things that keep you in IT jobs. Certifications are what keep you in IT jobs. The certifications. You see what I'm saying? Even though it's great for you to have your degree, I one thing I preach. So I call it the credential triad. Okay? The credential triad. What is in that triad? Obviously, triad meaning, triangle, right? 3 different points. One point is your degrees. Being able to have your degrees match the intellect. Another point is certifications. Being able to have the certifications and also licenses to be able to do what you need to do. The last point is experience. Having the experience in the now, in the present, in relation to what you've gained your certifications in addition to what you got your degrees for. When you have all those 3, oftentimes employers can't fuck with you. Oftentimes you have the knowledge, at least a good foundation of knowledge to be able to do for yourself. If you really think about it. This is one of the things I tell my students all the time. You know, think about that triad and try to fill it on each particular point. Try to fill it as much as you possibly can. And that triad is the baseline for you conveying your worth and value to someone who wants to hire you. So, anybody got anything else? Okay. With that said, I'm Frank, and today's conversation, we talked about a lot of stuff. So, with that said, this is the end of this episode of Real Raw Exchange. Y'all take it easy. Have a wonderful week. Okay?
Don't